Picture this. You finally found it.
The absolute dream home.
Yes, the dream home. You've been searching for, like, months, right? You negotiated the price, your heart is just racing, and you sit down at your laptop to, execute that wire transfer.
Always a stressful moment.
Oh, incredibly stressful. So your earnest money deposit, let's just call it a cool $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
It leaves your checking account and vanishes into the ether.
Right, which is a massive statement of intent.
Exactly. I mean, as a buyer, you imagine that money sitting quietly in a secure sealed vault, right? Just waiting for closing day when it magically transforms into your down payment.
You're popping the metaphorical champagne.
You really are. But then the inspection report comes back, and it is not good.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a cracked heat exchanger. Or, maybe there's extensive water damage hiding out of sight in the crawl space.
Which is terrifying.
Right. Or, even worse, a sudden global market shift happens, and your lender just pulls your loan approval at the 11th hour.
I mean, that is a genuinely terrifying moment for anyone trying to buy a house. But, it is precisely why contingencies are written into real estate contracts in the first place.
Right.
Contracts are designed to have this eject button for these exact scenarios.
So, you're disappointed about the house, obviously, but you figure you are fully within your legal rights to just press that eject button.
Because you are.
Exactly. You sign a simple release of deposit form, fully expecting to get your $10,000 back by, the end of the week. But the seller is furious.
Oh, yeah, they always are.
Right. For whatever reason, they just feel stung. They are convinced you, unfairly stigmatized their property. Or maybe they just don't believe the inspection report at all.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And out of pure spite or frustration, they just refuse to sign the release.
Wow.
And just like that, your own hard-earned money is taken hostage. Welcome to what the real estate world calls the escrow Cold War.
It is, it's a phenomenal phrase for a truly frozen, just agonizing situation.
It really is.
What's fascinating here is that every great real estate transaction begins with a massive transfer of trust. I mean, you are handing over thousands of dollars to a third party.
A complete stranger, basically.
Right. But when that trust shatters before closing day, that quiet vault where you thought your money was safely sitting, well, it instantly becomes a battleground.
Okay, let's unpack this, because today's deep dive is entirely focused on this exact scenario. We are looking at a really compelling stack of source material that details the incredibly high cost of these escrow cold wars.
Specifically looking at how this plays out in the Florida luxury real estate market.
Yeah, exactly. Florida luxury real estate.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to uncover the absolute monster hiding under your purchase agreement.
Oh, the interpleader lawsuit.
Yes, the interpleader lawsuit. We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you the exact tools you need to protect your cash when a deal falls apart.
Because it really is high stakes.
It is. Honestly, reading through these sources, it plays out less like a standard financial transaction and more like a high-stakes true crime story.
Yeah.
Where the ultimate victim is just your bank account.
That is a very accurate way to frame the stakes.
Yep.
And, the very first trap that people fall into in this true crime story is fundamentally misunderstanding who holds their money.
Right.
And, what that person's power actually is.
Because intuitively, right, if you are the buyer and your money is suddenly trapped, your immediate instinct is to pick up the phone.
Of course.
You call the title company or, the escrow attorney holding the funds, and you just demand justice.
You want action.
Right. You want to forward them the inspection report, send them screenshots of your text messages with the seller, and just say, look at this.
Yeah, the heat exchanger is cracked.
Exactly. I'm protected by my contract. Give me my money back right now.
And that is, that's the most common reaction. I mean, most buyers, and honestly many sellers too, they assume that the escrow agent is essentially acting as a judge, like a referee.
Exactly. They believe this person has the authority to review the evidence, blow a whistle, call a foul on the seller, and declare a winner.
Right, to just make a ruling.
But that is simply not how the mechanism of escrow works under the law.
Wait, I need to stop you there. Because if the contract literally says, the buyer gets their money back if the inspection fails, why does the title company even care what the angry seller thinks?
It's a great question.
Wouldn't the title company be in trouble for ignoring the plain text of the contract by, not giving the money back to the buyer?
It definitely seems like they should. But we have to look at the underlying mechanism of what an escrow agent actually is.
Okay.
An escrow agent is not a property inspector, and they are certainly not a civil court judge.
Right.
They have absolutely no legal qualification to look at a photograph of a cracked heat exchanger and definitively verify if it constitutes a legal breach of contract.
Oh, I see. Their only job is to ensure funds are cleared and held safely. But more importantly, they operate under a strict fiduciary duty to both sides of the transaction simultaneously.
Meaning, they owe an equal level of absolute loyalty to the buyer and the seller at the exact same time.
Precisely. It's a dual duty. So if there are conflicting demands for that deposit, meaning the buyer says, give it to me, and the seller says, no, give it to me,
Then what?
the escrow agent becomes legally paralyzed.
Wow.
Yeah, if they look at your inspection report, decide you are right, and just wire you the $10,000, they have instantly violated their fiduciary loyalty to the seller.
Oh, I get it, because they took a side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That opens the title company up to being sued for massive damages by the seller.
So they just freeze.
So to protect themselves, they literally cannot release a single dollar without consensus.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for anyone listening. I want you to stop thinking of the escrow agent as a referee on a football field.
Right. No whistle.
Yeah, they do not have a whistle, and they cannot call a penalty. Instead, think of them as a safety deposit box, a box that requires two distinct keys to be turned at the exact same moment.
That is the perfect mental model for this.
All right, you, the buyer, you have one key, the seller has the other. If the seller just refuses to put their key in the lock, that box stays completely shut.
Yep.
The escrow agent holding the box cannot, under any circumstances, force it open for you.
The safety deposit box really nails it because their hands are tied until one of two things happens. Either both parties finally calm down and agree in writing, meaning turning those two keys simultaneously,
Right.
or a legal authority, like an actual judge, forces them to release the funds.
So if the box is shut tight, how does this standoff actually end? Because the person whose 10 grand is sitting in that vault can't just wait forever.
No, they definitely can't.
According to our sources, a ticking clock starts the absolute moment those conflicting demands are made.
That's right.
And it is a very specific, very unforgiving clock that pushes you through the 3 stages of an escrow Cold War.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, contracts are essentially designed to force some kind of resolution when human consensus fails.
Okay.
Stage 1 of this process is a 10-day negotiation window.
10 days.
Right. The exact moment the escrow agent receives those conflicting demands, the buyer and seller are on the clock. They have 10 days to attempt to resolve the issue privately.
I mean, 10 days does not feel like a lot of time to de-escalate a situation where people are actively furious with each other.
It is an incredibly tight window, but the contract demands speed because, well, real estate is an illiquid asset.
You can't just leave a house in limbo.
Exactly. This 10-day window is intended for clear communication. Look at the facts, look at the contract contingencies. Our source material notes that this is the exact moment where an experienced real estate advisor is worth their weight in gold.
Because you need someone calm.
Exactly. This is the time for cold logic, not hot emotion.
But let's dig into why this 10-day window usually fails. Because we are dealing with human beings.
Right.
And buying or selling a home is deeply, deeply emotional.
Oh, absolutely.
People get entrenched. Pride gets in the way. The seller thinks the buyer is trying to pull a fast one.
Yep. Yeah.
And the buyer thinks the seller is just being greedy. So if communication completely breaks down and nobody is turning their key, what actually happens on day 11?
That is when the contract forces you into stage 2.
Okay.
The 30-day mandatory mediation window.
30 days.
Right. The private negotiation failed, so you now have 30 days to sit down with a certified mediator.
Okay, mediation. I mean, on the surface, that sounds completely reasonable, right? A neutral third party sits you both down in a room, or maybe 2 separate rooms, and just helps you talk it out until you find a compromise.
It sounds ideal.
But our sources highlight a massive, painful catch here. This mandatory step is not a free service provided by the state.
Far from it. A certified mediator is a professional. They're often an attorney themselves, and they charge professional rates.
Which are expensive.
We're talking hundreds of dollars an hour. And the standard contract dictates that the buyer and the seller must split the mediator's fee right down the middle.
50-50.
50-50.
So let me put myself in the shoes of the listener right now.
Yeah.
I am already fighting to get my own $10,000 back.
Right.
money that is currently locked in a vault that I can't even access. And now I have to pull more money out of my pocket just to pay a mediator to argue about the money I already spent.
That is the harsh reality. You are actively spending new money to fight for your old money.
That is insane.
It becomes a war of attrition. The mediation phase is essentially a test to see who bleeds out first financially.
Or who gets tired of paying the mediator's hourly rate.
Exactly. And if you cannot come to an agreement during that 30-day phase, if neither side blinks and the mediation fails, that is when you enter the absolute most dangerous territory.
Stage 3.
Stage 3.
The monster hiding under the purchase agreement.
The interpleader lawsuit.
We have to break down what an interpleader actually is because the mechanics of this are just mind-blowing. Up until now, the escrow agent has just been sitting there paralyzed, holding the box.
Right.
What changes in stage 3?
At this point, the escrow agent basically throws their hands in the air.
They're done.
They want out of this frozen warfare, and legally, they're allowed to exit the equation entirely.
Oh.
They do this by handing the disputed money over to a local court registry. To do that, the title company actually hires their own attorney to file this interpleader lawsuit against both the buyer and the seller.
Wait, they sue you?
Yes. The lawsuit essentially tells a civil judge, we have this money, these two people are fighting over it, we make no claims to it, you figure it out.
But wait. The escrow agent doesn't just hand over the full $10,000 to the court, do they?
No, they do not. And this is the part that is truly heartbreaking to watch play out.
Oh, boy.
The escrow agent is legally allowed to deduct their own legal fees and filing costs directly out of your disputed deposit before they hand the balance over to the court.
So if I'm the listener, and I check my bank statement after this mess finally clears, I'm just arbitrarily out $2,000 because someone else threw a tantrum.
Basically, yeah.
It's like calling a plumber because your house is flooding, right?
Yeah.
And the plumber shows up, takes $2,000 out of your wallet, hands you a bucket, and walks out the front door.
It is a brutal realization, but yes, that analogy is spot on. If you are fighting over a $10,000 deposit, our sources state it is incredibly common for $2,000 or more to just vanish instantly.
Just gone.
Gone. That money goes to pay the title company's attorney just for drafting the interpleader paperwork to get the title company out of the middle.
So the pie is already shrinking before you even get a chance to stand in front of a judge.
Exactly. And this raises an important question, right? What happens to the remaining $8,000?
Right, the leftovers.
Well, now it's sitting in a court registry. The buyer and the seller now have to hire their own individual litigators to fight in civil court over the balance.
And litigators are not cheap.
Think about the hourly rate of a civil litigator. By the time this drawn-out legal process actually concludes, which takes months, the law firms have eaten the entire prize.
Oh, wow.
The deposit is entirely gone.
So the whole thing was an exercise in futility? Nobody wins?
Nobody wins except the law firms. It is mutually assured financial destruction.
Okay, if putting my money in a title company's vault is this dangerous, I'm thinking I should just hand my check to my real estate broker instead.
That's a very common thought.
Does that actually protect me any better? Because our sources mention an exception to this whole interpleader nightmare, and I really want to explore how that mechanism works.
It's a great question, and it introduces what is called the broker exception.
Okay.
The rules and the timeline we just discussed generally apply to title companies and attorneys holding escrow. But the regulatory framework changes depending on exactly who is holding your money.
Right.
If a licensed real estate broker holds the earnest money deposit in their own brokerage escrow account, they operate under a completely different set of rules enforced by the state.
In Florida, this would be the Florida Real Estate Commission, right?
Yes, often referred to as FREC.
Got it.
Under these FREC rules, a broker has 15 business days to report the conflict to the state and 30 business days to initiate a resolution.
Okay, so a different timeline.
Right. Very often, this involves the broker requesting something called an escrow disbursement order directly from the state commission.
So instead of a title company throwing their hands up and filing a civil lawsuit, the broker is basically asking a state regulatory board to look at the contract and just make a ruling.
Precisely. The state commission reviews the contract, reviews the timelines, and they issue an order dictating exactly who gets the money.
That sounds way better.
It bypasses the civil court system entirely, which makes it a much cleaner path. But we do have to be clear about the reality here.
There's always a catch.
Right. It still subjects your money to months of agonizing delay because you have to wait for the state board to meet, review your case, and issue the order. You are still trapped in the Cold War. It's just being fought on a bureaucratic battlefield instead of a judicial one.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But looking at all of this, the delays, the legal fees, the sheer exhaustion of it all, I have a really pointed question.
Go for it.
From a purely logical standpoint, why would a seller ever lock up their own property in a lengthy dispute?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive.
Right. If a buyer wants out, why wouldn't the seller just cut ties, sign the release, and find a new buyer immediately instead of freezing their own asset?
And that question gets right to the heart of the underlying debate driving these standoffs. You are looking at it through a lens of pure, cold business logic.
Which is how I usually look at things, honestly.
Sure, but to understand why these wars happen, we have to look at the vastly differing perspectives of the actual people involved. Let's look at the buyer's perspective first. From their point of view, they are simply exercising their legal rights. A standard Florida contract, for instance, typically gives them a window to walk away for almost any reason.
An as-is contract, right.
Exactly. If they find a bad crawl space or if their financing falls through, they have a contractual eject button.
They are just playing by the rules written on the paper.
Exactly. The buyer feels completely justified. But now let's look at the seller's perspective.
Okay.
Selling a home is intensely personal. They have painted the walls, they've moved their family out of the house every weekend for showings, and mentally they've started packing up their life.
They are invested.
Deeply. Maybe they even put an offer down on a new house, relying on the sale to go through. When a buyer pulls out, even for a completely valid contractual reason, the seller feels deeply stung.
I could see that.
They feel their property was unfairly stigmatized or, taken off the market during a crucial window.
It's a domino effect of disruption, and it's driven entirely by human emotion.
Yes, the seller is seeking personal validation. They feel wronged by the disruption, and withholding that signature on the release form, well, it's the only tangible leverage they feel they have left to express their frustration.
We really have to acknowledge both realities here. I mean, the buyer absolutely has a legal right to protect themselves from buying a house with a cracked heat exchanger.
Absolutely.
But the seller's emotional reality is also completely valid. It is incredibly jarring to have a massive financial deal fall apart at the 11th hour. Neither side necessarily views themselves as the villain.
That's a crucial point, and we certainly aren't taking sides between buyers and sellers here.
No, not at all.
The contract validates the buyer's actions, but human psychology explains the seller's reaction. Real estate transactions might be massive financial commitments, but they are negotiated and executed by human beings.
Human beings who get stressed.
Exactly. Stressed, angry, and defensive when things don't go according to plan.
So what does this all mean for the listener? It means that when communication breaks down, people seek emotional validation instead of logic. And that is exactly when the bank accounts suffer.
Which brings us to the most important part of our deep dive today. How do you avoid the war room entirely?
Let's synthesize everything we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The paralyzed escrow agent with the 2-key safety deposit box, the ticking clock, the expensive mediation fees, the monster interpleader lawsuit eating your deposit, and the intense emotional drivers.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. So what is the final battle plan for someone listening right now who's about to enter the real estate market?
The single most important actionable takeaway from all of this source material is prevention through absolute clarity.
Prevention.
You have to stop the war before the first shot is ever fired.
Okay, let's break down exactly how to do that for both sides. If you are a buyer listening to this right now, your timelines must be bulletproof. Do not mess around with your contingencies. If you intend to cancel a contract based on an inspection issue or a financing problem, your notice has to be delivered in writing with absolute precision before the clock strikes midnight on your deadline.
This cannot be overstated. A single day of delay transforms a legitimate, legally protected cancellation into a massive breach of contract.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if your contractual deadline to back out is Tuesday at midnight and you send your cancellation email on Wednesday at 8 a.m., because, you just wanted to sleep on it.
You're in trouble.
You no longer have the right to your deposit. You have essentially handed your key over to the seller.
Bulletproof timelines. I love that. Now, what if you are the seller? How do you protect yourself from getting dragged into this mess?
If you are the seller, your absolute best survival tactic is emotional detachment.
Which is easier said than done.
Much easier. But you must train yourself to treat the contract strictly as a business arrangement, nothing more.
Which is so incredibly hard when it's the home you've lived in for 10 years.
It is incredibly hard. But think about the alternative we just mapped out. If a buyer wants out during their legal contingency window, let them go immediately. Release the funds.
Just cut the cord.
Yes, because if you refuse to sign that release out of spite or, a desire to punish the buyer, you lock your own property up in a legal dispute.
And your house is off the market.
Exactly. While you are spending months fighting in civil court over a deposit that is slowly being eaten by lawyers, the prime neighborhood moving season is just passing you by.
You're winning a tiny, expensive battle, but you're losing the war. You could have just signed the paper, put the house right back on the market the very next morning, and found a better buyer who actually wants the property and has their financing ready to go.
Exactly. Don't trip over dollars to pick up pennies. Protect your time and your asset above your pride.
Okay, this has been incredibly eye-opening. We've gone from the initial excitement of the wire transfer to the terrifying realization of the two-key safety deposit box.
Quite a journey.
Right. We've navigated the costly war of attrition in mediation and stared directly into the jaws of the interpleader lawsuit, where the lawyers just take everything.
It really reframes how you look at the seemingly simple act of putting down an earnest money deposit. It's not just a gesture, it's a legal tether. And this leaves us with a lingering thought that I really want you to mull over after we wrap up.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
We focused entirely on luxury real estate today. But think about other standard contracts you've signed in your life where your hard-earned money is held by a third party.
Like what?
Well, maybe it's a business acquisition or a massive equipment rental for your company, or even a deposit for a wedding venue.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Do you actually know whose keys are required to unlock your funds if things go south?
Forget not.
Or have you just been assuming all along that there's a neutral referee in a striped shirt just waiting to blow a whistle and save you?
Oh, man. That changes everything. It really makes you realize that when your money is sitting in a sealed vault, you better know exactly who has the power to open the door and what rules they are forced to play by.
Absolutely.
Keep a close eye on those keys, everyone.